Money, credit score, investments, savings account, all that jazz we're here to talk about today. So get comfy, grab a drink, and let's get straight into it.
Being in your 20s is like, I'm so young, but I'm so old. I should do everything. I should rest. I can do what I want, but I need to be careful. I'm an adult, but I need help from an adult.
Oh gosh.
That's a big one. I'm so smart, but I feel so stupid. I'm leaving, and I feel left behind. I want to be a kid again.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking all about finances and things I wish I knew at age 18 to do with finances. So I've made a list in here about some things I want to talk about and include. I've also done some research. I've been reading loads of financial books. I thought this video might be beneficial for you guys because I realised that in school we get taught loads of things, English, math, science, but we don't really get taught about how to manage our money really. What I'm trying to say is that I feel that school should be teaching us knowledge and key skills that we'll need as adults. For example, what is a credit score? What is the stock market? What is investing? These are key skills I feel we should know but are not being taught. So I've done some research into these topics and today I'm going to share them with you. Let's get straight into it. So my first tip is for you to open up a savings account, because if you have money sitting in a normal account, that is not going to increase overnight and that is just going to decrease its value due to inflation. So if you guys have some money just sitting in an account, I recommend you put that into a savings account, and there's different kinds of savings accounts. There's what's called a fixed rate saver and an online savings account, and there's advantages and disadvantages to both. As you can see, the fixed rate saver has a higher interest rate than the online savings account, but you're not able to withdraw money from the fixed rate savers account whenever you want, but you can close it early for a fee. However, with the online savings account, it tends to have a lower interest rate, but you can withdraw money whenever you want, so it's more flexible. A good savings account I recommend is a Marcus savings account because that has a high interest, which means that you are going to be earning money over time. A Marcus account has an interest rate of 4.60%, which means you're going to be earning 4.60% annually of the amount of money you have in your account. And you don't have to have a specific amount of money to begin with. You can put as much or as little as you want into the account. I do recommend you do your own research into which savings account you want, because there is loads of different ones and each one has a different purpose. But the one I found to be beneficial is a Marcus account. The next tip I have for you guys is all about investment. Now there's different kinds of investments, but the one I'm going to be talking about today is stocks and shares. This is especially good for long-term saving. If you're looking for somewhere to put your money in for 10 plus years, then I recommend stocks and shares. There's a company called Vanguard, which is an investment company. If you go into Google and type in Vanguard, there's many different stocks and there's many different funds that you can invest into. The difference between a stock and a fund is that a stock is a portion of one company. For example, Apple. You can buy a portion of Apple. As Apple continues to grow and more people purchase from Apple, you will get an increase in your stock that you've purchased. But that's just one company. But if Apple was to suddenly crash in the market, then that would mean that your stock would crash too and you would start to lose all that money. So instead of investing in a stock, you can invest in what is called a fund, and a fund is multiple companies. So you're not just investing in one company such as Apple, you're investing in multiple companies such as Apple, Microsoft. So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, and if one company was to have a significant decline or crash in the stock market, then you would still have other companies in your fund. The way I learned to remember it is by imagining a stock is a singular flower and a fund is a bouquet of flowers. So you don't want to just get one flower, you want to get multiple flowers. Go and do your research onto that, but investment is definitely something I recommend you do because in the long term, 10 years down the line, it will grow by compound interest, which will mean that you'll have more money overall. If you go onto Google and type in investor.gov, there is a calculator there which shows you how much you could be earning in 10, 20, however many years you want. Basically, you put in how much money you're going to initially invest at the beginning, and then every month you can continue to invest a specific amount, however much you want. For example, £100, and then you put in the amount of years you're going to invest for. So for example, 7 years, and then the estimated interest rate. So this will depend on where you're investing your money into, so you'd have to specifically look at where you're investing. But let's say an interest rate of 8%. And then you click calculate and it'll show you that you could be making this much money in 7 years. So you would have only put in £9,400 and you would have come out with £12,421, which is definitely a big increase. So I recommend you guys do more research into investments and stocks and shares because you could be earning a lot of money a few years down the line. So my next tip is to build your credit score. This is very important. I think loads of people underestimate how important this is, but further down the line, your credit score plays an important role into if you're able to buy a house, finance a car, and all of these things. So I recommend that at the age of 18 or as soon as you can to start building your credit score, and there's a few different ways of doing this. First, let me just explain to you guys what credit score is.
A credit score is a number that helps lenders like banks and credit card companies decide if they should give you a loan or a credit card. The higher your credit score is, the more trustworthy you seem to them. And it's based on things like how well you've paid your bills on time, how much debt you have, and how much you've been using your credit.
Basically, each person has a credit score, and the higher it is, the better. If you're bad at paying your bills, then that is going to decrease your credit score. Before you can increase your credit score, you want to know what your credit score is. So how do you find this out? There is different websites, different apps available for you to check your own credit score. Some banks allow you to check through their app, for example Royal Bank of Scotland, but there are other apps that you can use to check your credit score. So you can check your credit score by searching Experian or Equifax. Either of those will tell you your credit score, but I believe you have to pay for those. So if you guys want the free version, there is also an app called Credit Karma, which is really good. That's the one I personally use. And then there is Clear Score, I believe it is. So you guys can check those out if you guys want to check your own credit score. All you have to do is fill in your details and it will come up with your credit rating. So if your credit score is bad, how can you increase this? There's different ways you can increase it, but a few of them is by getting a credit card. This can be very risky depending on the individual, so you need to know if you can trust yourself. If you trust yourself to be sensible with a credit card, I definitely recommend you get one because that will drastically help you increase your credit score. Basically, if you have a credit card and you're using money and then you're paying it back, you're showing that you're able to pay back your bills, which is essentially going to increase your credit score. But if you are using money that you don't have and then you don't pay it back, at the same time it can drastically decrease your credit score. So if you use it correctly, it will increase your credit score, but if you misuse it, it can have a negative effect on your credit rating. So if you can trust yourself to only spend money when you know you have the money, then I definitely recommend you get it. But if you don't trust yourself, then stay away from credit cards because that can get you into debt and that is not good. So some credit companies won't allow you to get a credit card with them if your credit score is already low, but there are some credit companies which are mainly for people with low credit scores, and that is used for them to build their credit up. So a good one is Aqua. Aqua is a credit company which allows you to have a small bit of credit first, for example £200, and that £200 doesn't belong to you, but you can use it to buy things and then pay it back straight away. And if you're showing that you can pay it back repeatedly, then that will increase your credit score, and the amount of credit you can take out, for example that 250 will increase to maybe £1,000 eventually, but at the same time that £1,000 is not yours. So you need to make sure you only spend money if you know you have the money. If you use the app Credit Karma, it actually shows you which credit cards you will be entitled and eligible to get, so have a look at that if you're interested. In this book I'm reading, it also shows you other ways to increase your credit rating, and one of the ways it talks about is by adding rent to your credit score. So most of us pay rent, right? And rent is something you have to pay anyways, so if you add that to your credit history, you're already showing that you can pay back your bills on time. So if you're good at paying your rent on time, I recommend you go into this app, which I believe is on this page. It's called Credit Ladder, and it's basically a company which will contact credit companies and tell them that you're able to pay your rent on time, and then that will essentially increase your credit rating. I think that there is a fee for that, but at the same time, if you think it's worth it, I recommend you go for it because at the end of the day, it will be increasing your credit score. My next tip is for when you're traveling. So when you're traveling, if you guys are going abroad, I recommend you guys get a travel card. There's many different travel cards out there, let me just start off by saying that, but a good one is Monzo and Revolute. So they're both basically the same thing. What they do is reduce the exchange rate, so if you're using it abroad, then the fee that they'll take will be less than what it would be if you're using a normal card. I believe that's how it works. Also, it's just really good, especially Monzo, for saving, because you can create pots. So if you guys want to have a pot for saving, a pot for spending, shopping, you can divide your money into different pots, which I think is really good if you're trying to save money. That leads me on to my last tip, I think. So my last tip is just a generic one, which is to not spend money on things that you don't need, especially if they can be replaced with other things, for example, drinks. I know lots of us like coffees in the morning, teas. Loads of us go for a Starbucks or a coffee in uni or something like that, and something I've been incorporating into my life recently, especially as a third year student, is bringing my own sachets. And then when I'm at uni, I just ask for a hot cup of water, and then I just pour the sachet of mocha or hot chocolate or whatever it is and mix. And that is a much cheaper alternative than buying drinks every single day, because stuff like that adds up, and that is money that you could be saving or investing. So if you guys have the chance, instead of buying drinks, either make them at home or buy these little sachets. I have got into the habit of taking them with me everywhere. These little sachets, which you can get in Aldi's, Lidl's, pretty much anywhere. They come in a pack, and it's like £1 for 10 of them. £1 for 10 of them, and you're paying £4 to £5 for one drink. So just think of how much money you could be saving, and honestly they taste so good, especially the mochas. I recommend the mochas. And that is pretty much it. So that's all my money saving tips for now. This book was very useful and I recommend it for anyone who wants to learn more about finances. It goes into a lot more detail and talks about other stuff, such as buying a house for the first time, especially in the UK, and stuff like that. So if you guys want to learn more, then I recommend you go and purchase this book. I will leave it down in the description below. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Inflation. Inflammation. What is that word?
Infiltration.
Infiltration? No.
Inflation.
Inflation. Inflation.